Hey, this is Professor Homa, and as a favor to people who missed class on Wednesday, December 7th, I'm just going to go over what we did introducing Access and working with the assignments we did during class. I'm going to take this right from downloading from Blackboard, so I'm going to right-click on AC Cafe Inventory. That's the database. The intro to Access is the notes that goes with that, so those are the notes that would follow along with what I'm going to do. So I'm going to download. I'm in Firefox right now. I'm going to save link as this Cafe Inventory, and I'm going to save it in an Access folder. Okay, and I already have one in there, so I'm just going to replace it. And again, when you download from Firefox, you can, if you see downloads, you can just double-click on the download window. That should try and force it to open up too. And when you open it up in Access, what you'll see in the Access interface, you look like you won't see anything. There's just a big gray area. But what you will see over here, there's two tables that are here, and they're called objects in Access. There's a stock objects and a suppliers object. We're going to open the suppliers object and just work a little bit, look at a few things on the sheet with that Intro to Access document that I gave you. So I'm going to double click on supplies, and if you get enable content, any of those buttons up there, make sure you do enable content. Some people in class had a problem with it being like a read-only file, so make sure you enable content. I'm going to double click on suppliers, and here's my database. Now what I'm looking at right now, you can see there's fields along the top. These things: vendor, contact, street, city, state, zip, phone number, email, all that. Those are my fields. These things going down the sides are called my records. So the records are in rows and the fields are in columns along the top. Okay, so just those are terms that we'll have to know: records and fields. And right now we're in data sheet view because we could actually add elements, and we're seeing the whole database as a whole right now. So if we're filling out this form or working with this database, this is data sheet view. And where you see this, if you look over here to the left side up top under view, you can see there's data sheet view, pivot table view, pivot chart. We won't do these pivots right now, but design and data sheet are going to be the two views that we kind of go back and forth between. So this is data sheet view right now. And then if I go to design view, which is the one with the triangle, design view will basically break down the fields into properties, where this is, when they say design, they mean that you'll actually be designing the database in terms of how the fields are set up and how it breaks down. So that's why they call it design view. But this is where you'll be more specific related to your fields that are up top. So your categories up top where people will enter information, you could set up things like restrictions, and the first thing you'll see here is data type. Under these things, there's vendor, which has a primary key. These other things are different data type, and notice they're all saying text. Even phone number and zip code, which may be numbers, are still saying text, which is okay, because numbers are primarily used when you're tabulating information or adding up information like money or quantities, things like that. You could still use text for things like zip code and phone number. So this is basically our fields, and we have data types here, and there's even more specific properties that are down at the bottom. And what we're going to look at on your sheet, it's number 6 on your sheet for Intro to Access. There's the state field. Here's my state field that I'm looking at. Now when I click on that, I'll see properties down here. And one of the properties that I'm going to change on this is field size. I'm going to change it to 2, so it shows up as a 2-character field. So I can only put in 2. I won't type out New Jersey or California. I'll just put NJ or CA or PA for that. So I'm limiting that field down here to 2 characters. Also, under Format, this is a little shortcut, but what I'm going to do here, and there is a drop down that you'll see for certain things, but nothing's showing up here. This is like a shortcut. If you use the greater than sign down here, what that'll do is it'll limit it to all caps, so that if you type in NJ in lowercase, it'll come up in capital letters. So just by doing that, I'm going to go back to 2 things here. I limited of this field state, I limited it to field size of 2 and the format of capital letters with the greater than sign. And now if I go back to datasheet view, and you have to save it first. Here I am back in my datasheet view, and you can see that all my states now showed up in capital letters, which they weren't originally. So that's one of the, and if we put in more records, they're going to, no matter what we type in, they'll go in capital letters. So I'm going to stop right there. That's part 1. We'll just finish up intro in our second part. So we'll finish this up in 2 parts.